everyone. Welcome. You've made it. You've made it to another episode of the Scoreboard. 844 Studio 4. That's 844-788-3464. Man, do we have a lot to go over today. We got baseball coming up a little later on tonight. Actually, not later on tonight. In 2 minutes at 5:08, 2 minutes from now, the Yankees and the Guardians will have their first pitch of game number 3. It's the first game back in Cleveland for the LCS, for the ALCS, I should say about that. The New York Yankees lead the series 2-1. So we're going to talk baseball today. Yesterday, we had game 3 between the Dodgers and the Mets. 8:08 tonight, we have game number 4, Dodgers and Mets, as LA Dodgers took the 2-1 series lead with a commanding win in game 3. Shohei Ohtani continues to have one of the most awkward postseasons of all time. What do I mean by that? Well, when he's at the plate, he only gets hits when there's runners on base. He is hitless with the bases empty this postseason. And he has only not gotten a hit twice with runners on base in this postseason. It's an anomaly. It's weird, and I don't understand it, but that's the way it goes for Shohei Ohtani right now. So we're going to talk baseball. We will recap that game. I do have some NASCAR news for you guys that I'd like to go over a little bit later on today. It has to do with, well, the lawsuit. Yeah. You know that thing that NASCAR has been avoiding talking about because they don't want to get any kind of trouble? They haven't talked about it. And I'm not sure why, but we haven't heard anything from NASCAR on the lawsuit, where it stands. Well, we did yesterday. Bob Pockrass put out a tweet late last night, about how NASCAR plans on operating with 2 teams suing them for antitrust with the 2025 charter situation. It's interesting. I don't think I mentioned what's been going on at Joe Gibbs Racing either. So we do have some NASCAR news. We're also going to get you ready for Las Vegas Motor Speedway today. We have a lot to get over because we are not going to be here in studio tomorrow. We will be rerunning the program. So, if you're hearing this on a Friday, sorry, I don't know what to tell you. It's a rerun, and this stuff is still applicable because we're going to talk about what's going on over the weekend as well. Last night, we had some high school volleyball conference championship games in the conference tournaments. I let you know there were a few schools in our area that were competing in those, South Iredell being one of them. You also had Pine Lake Prep with a volleyball conference championship game. And I believe North Iredell as well was in a conference championship game. A lot of the schools in this area were doing really good in volleyball. Some that were doing good in football as well. And as you know, we also have the soccer season to talk about. We'll do that a little bit next week as we continue here on the Scoreboard. Also going on in the world of sports, we have the NFL coming up tonight. Thursday night football. And it's Thursday night football between, it's an interesting game. And I will say this about Thursday night football. It very rarely produces a great game. I think that, oddly enough, we have a chance at a really good game this week with Denver and New Orleans, but it's going to be a good game in the sense that we're going to watch 2 teams play real sloppy football, and the score is going to be close at the end. That's about what I think about the Thursday night football game coming up this week. The Denver Broncos, the New Orleans Saints, later on tonight, 8:15. Now, I was looking at the MLB schedule and comparing it to the NFL, and I was wondering earlier today, I was like, why are the Yankees and the Guardians starting their game at 5 o'clock? And then I thought, Oh, it's Thursday. They're trying to get one game out in front of Thursday night football before the NFL comes and clobbers them in the ratings, I should say. So we have one game early afternoon, early evening-ish, or late afternoon, early evening-ish tonight. And then we do have that 8 o'clock baseball game, but it's going to get overshadowed by Thursday night football. Now, the benefit of the MLB being on at the same time as Thursday night football is TV stuff. Because when you look at where the MLB games are going to be seen, Game 4 of the NLCS is going to be on Fox Sports 1. A lot of people can find that channel. Game 3 of the ALCS is going to be on TBS, as that game has just gotten underway. The benefit of that is they're actually on TV and cable channels. What isn't is Amazon Prime. So you have baseball trying to compete with streaming right now. I am curious to see how that goes with Thursday night football being between two teams that are, well, they're not great. Denver's at 500 at 3-3. New Orleans at 2-4. They won the first 2 games of the year in incredible fashion. And then since then, they've lost 4 in a row. They've also lost their starting quarterback. Unfortunately for Derek Carr, he has been out. Spencer Rattler will be the starter yet again. He lost his first outing last week. First start. He is a rookie this year, and he wasn't expected to be a starter, but with the injury, he get thrust into the loop here. And there's a lot of NFL things going on. We look at the Steelers. The Steelers have a game coming up a little bit later on Sunday here. They're actually going to be on Sunday Night Football against the Jets. And the word out of the Steelers camp is, I don't think Justin Fields is going to be the starter for them on Sunday night, which is interesting because Justin Fields got them out to a 4-2 record here. And now that Russell Wilson is healthy, he's going to be the starter. Interesting. I would think if you're winning, you keep the guy in, but apparently that's not going to be what the Steelers do. It's trending towards Russell Wilson being the starter this coming Sunday. And for the Panthers, we've talked about them on the road against the Commanders this weekend. Not going to be a good look. It is in Washington, 4 o'clock game. Commanders are one of the more surprising teams of the year, I'd say. Maybe not extremely surprising. I know a lot of people were high on the Commanders with Jaden Daniels now being the leader of that team. And they look pretty good. They're 4-2, competing in the NFC East, as the Panthers are just going to be looking for their second win of the season. We got to head to a commercial break. When we return, we're going to get into volleyball conference championship games, and then we'll talk a little football as we get you prepared for Friday Night Lights. Don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We got a lot to cover today. You're listening to The Scoreboard, and we're back after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of The Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
We're getting cold again tonight under a clear sky. Most of us around the lake drop into the upper 30s. A few spots in the outlying areas and farms could see the mid-30s and patchy frost again by early Friday morning. Sunshine is back. We get a little more pleasant heading into the weekend. Upper 60s for our Friday. Low 70s are back heading into the upcoming weekend. And that's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
The WSIC app is available now wherever you get your apps, featuring local deals from great local businesses, like Top Notch Gutters of Statesville.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Lost Worlds Brewing Company in Cornelius presents their Sunday Fun Day on October 20th. Fleetwood Mac tribute band The Chain and Untethered Soul with frontman Nick Prestia take the stage for a day of live music. Lost Worlds Brewing is ready to welcome a big crowd to their back parking lot with a concert stage and sound system from Waves Entertainment. Lost Worlds off West Catawba Avenue in Cornelius presents Sunday Fun Day with an outdoor concert on October 20th. Monthly trivia with the WSIC gang is back at Micaiah's in Mooresville on October 22nd. Join us at Micaiah's off exit 33 from I-77 for Halloween-themed trivia on Tuesday night, October 22nd at 8 p.m. Trivia winners will receive a family 4-pack of tickets to the Renaissance Festival. Have some October spooky season fun with WSIC on-air hosts and try to win Renfest tickets with Halloween trivia Tuesday, October 22nd at Micaiah's in Mooresville. The Dirt Track at Charlotte Motor Speedway presents the World of Outlaws World Finals on the 6th of November through the 9th. Catch Dirt Racing's top 3 series in a title-deciding 4-day showcase of on-track action, featuring the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, the World of Outlaws Late Model Series, and the Super Dirt Car Big Block Modifieds. Single-day and 4-day ticket packages and camping information are all available at charlottemotorspeedway.com. Often imitated, never duplicated. The World of Outlaws World Finals invade the Charlotte Motor Speedway Dirt Track on the 6th of November through the 9th. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
The Renaissance Festival is back, Saturdays and Sundays, now through November 24th. Jousting nights, mermaids, fairies, dragons, oh my! Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com. Don't miss it!
Legendary music icon Jim Messina from Loggins and Messina, Poco, and Buffalo Springfield is playing live on Thursday, October 17th at 7 p.m. at Kane Center for the Arts. Learn more at canearts.org. That's CAIN arts.org.
Nothing but the best talk.
The area's best talk.
WSIC.
Now more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go over some high school sports. Yes, you're listening to the Scoreboard. 844 Studio 4 is the phone number. That's 844-788-3464. Obligatory update on the MLB playoffs. Yankees Guardians have gotten underway. It is currently first and second for the Yankees with 2 outs in the top of the first inning. We will keep you updated on this as much as possible as we go through the program. I know the game's probably not going to be anywhere near over when we get off the air here, but at least you will be getting your information from me here on the Scoreboard. We got to talk about high school sports. We have high school football coming up this Friday night. The Friday Night Lights are back in action. We're going to start the conversation with Statesville High School, as they've had a very good year so far. Looking at a 6-1 record and a 3-1 record within the conference. That one conference loss coming to North Lincoln High School, 39-14 back in late September. For Statesville High School, their next game is going to be against North Iredell. It'll be a home game for the Greyhounds, taking on North Iredell at 7 o'clock. And for North Iredell, they've had a pretty streaky year here. 2 losses in a row right now. They won their first 2. I'm sorry, they lost their first 2. Then they won 3 in a row. And then they lost their last 2 again. So if the pattern continues, they'll win their final 3 games of the year. I don't know if that's much of a pattern, but a little bit of a streaky team here is North Iredell, sitting 3-4 overall, 2-2 within the conference. They'll be traveling to Statesville to take on the Greyhounds. Moving right along, let's talk about South Iredell football, as that team has had an interesting year. Now, we talked to them not long ago, last week actually, as they prepped for their game against Mooresville. That game didn't go the way that they had planned, as they dropped the game 28-9 to Mooresville. For South Iredell, they move on to their homecoming game. Yes, we have homecoming coming up. They'll be taking on A.L. Brown for that homecoming game tomorrow at 7 o'clock. A.L. Brown having a decent year, sitting 4-3 overall and 2-2 within the standings, or within the conference, I should say. Having the same record, this is going to be a very good game and an important one at that when it comes to the conference rankings at the end of the year. West Iredell High School is also going to be in action this Friday night. They'll be on the road taking on Hickory High School, who still has not lost a game this year. They didn't lose a game last year either. So in the last 2 years, Hickory High School has gone 16-0 and 7-0 for a whopping 23-0 record over the past 2 years. Somebody's got to beat them eventually. Maybe it'll be West Iredell getting the upset this weekend. Friday night, 7:30. It'll be a road game for West Iredell as they travel to Hickory to try and take off the number 1 team in the conference. Moving a little bit farther south of us, Lake Norman High School. They've had a rocky year. 5-2 is not where I expected them to be right now, with losses coming to Statesville and West Cabarrus. They got back on track against Hickory High School, and next they'll take on Cox Mill. Should be more of a get back on track game for Lake Norman, as Cox Mill unfortunately has not had a good football season. They are winless so far this year, dropping all 7 matches that they have played on the year. So for Lake Norman, it's going to be take care of business, move on, and get to South Iredell next week. So tomorrow night, Cox Mill High School, Lake Norman. It's going to be in Lake Norman's home stadium. We're looking at a game time of 7 o'clock on that one. And finally, the last football team that we're going to talk about in this segment is Mooresville High School. Mooresville's had a very good year. I would not put it past Mooresville to go compete for a state championship this year. Their only loss of the year came against Reagan High School. Currently a 4-3 team is Reagan High School, but that was on a last-minute tackle. Mooresville almost scored. It was a close game. They just weren't able to get it done. Mooresville is going to be taking on West Cabarrus on Friday night. It's going to be at home for the Mooresville Blue Devils. 7 o'clock again is the game time for West Cabarrus and Mooresville High School. Now, yesterday I told you about some conference playoffs that were going on, conference championship games in high school volleyball, varsity girls volleyball. Well, we had those championship games last night. I have some pretty interesting results for you here. We're going to start with Pine Lake Prep, my alma mater. We talked to the head coach a few weeks ago. May have her back on as we get prepared for the playoffs here. But Pine Lake, they went into the conference tournament and took care of business against Langtree Charter. They won a nail-biter against Christ the King. It was a 3-2 score on the sets. Pine Lake ends up getting the win in that one. They were down 2-1 in sets and won 2 straight to get that 3-2 victory. And then the championship game was last night. It was on the road against CSD, the Community School of Davidson, who Pine Lake had lost twice to on the year. Well, the third time was the charm for Pine Lake Prep as they beat CSD in the volleyball championship to get the crown and win the conference tournament in the Catawba Shores Athletic 1-2A volleyball conference. Big congratulations to Pine Lake for their victory, and we look forward to seeing what they do come playoff time. Another school that was in a conference championship game last night, South Iredell High School. The South Iredell High School volleyball team had a pretty mediocre year, 17-10, nothing ridiculous, nothing crazy, but a winning record at that. They go into the conference tournament and they upset Lake Norman, who was 11-1 in the conference. So South Iredell upsets Lake Norman in the semifinals. They move on to the conference championship to take on Cox Mill High School. Now, we talked about how Cox Mill has not had a very good job on the football side of things this year. Well, the girls volleyball is a little bit different for them, as they have gone 19-3 on the year. The Cox Mill volleyball team is the 12th ranked volleyball program in the state of North Carolina. Yeah, they have a very, very good program over there. The game was, unfortunately for South Iredell, it did not go the way that they wanted it to, as South Iredell drops the game 3-0. Clean sweep for Cox Mill as they take the championship in the 4A Greater Metro Volleyball Conference. And last but not least, we had one other program participating in a conference championship game last night. That was Hickory High School and North Iredell High School. Yes, North Iredell went on a run, man. We talked about it yesterday. They started the year 3-2. And then after that, they won 21 consecutive games. Now they go in and they beat Hickory High School clean. They didn't drop a single set in the conference tournament, winning all 3 games 3-0. Hickory High School takes the loss. North Iredell wins the Western Foothills 3A Volleyball Conference during the conference championship game. Now, like I've told you over the past couple of days, we will have volleyball rankings coming out shortly. We expect those on Sunday, which means Monday when we come in here on the scoreboard, we're going to be able to talk about the rankings and the brackets and who's going to be playing who. It's going to be a fun time, man. We are getting into fall playoffs. And then right around the corner is winter sports. Basketball is going to be starting up soon. Keep an eye on that. When we look into the future here, it looks like we do have the basketball season going to be starting relatively soon. Also on the docket for sports in the near future, we have cross-country playoffs are coming up. You have women's golf coming up as well. The first practice for basketball is actually October 23rd. 6 days from now, we will have the first practice for basketball, I should say. And then volleyball state championship games are going to be coming up November 2nd. Men's soccer is going to be November as well. And then obviously you have football coming up in November and in December. It goes pretty late, I know. We're going to head to our next commercial break here, ladies and gentlemen. During that commercial break, if you're joining us on our video stream through the WSIC News app or YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, X, wherever you get us, stay tuned. We'll hear an update from Lenore Rhine Football as we see how that program has been making out throughout their football season. We got plenty of scoreboard left, just passing the halfway mark on this Thursday. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
More of Sports Director Joe Berg's The Scoreboard is coming up on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, getting cold again tonight under a clear sky. Most of us around the lake drop into the upper 30s. A few spots in the outlying areas and farms.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's now hear from Lenore Rhine Football as we have their Week 4 recap.
Welcome back to the Bear Time 2-Minute Drill. I'm your host, Alex McCaskey. On Saturday, October 12th, the Lenore Rhine Bears defeated the Newberry Wolves 24-3 to move to 5-1 on the season with a 3-1 conference record and a perfect 4-0 record at home. Alex Boyd had himself a day on the ground, rushing the ball 12 times for 92 yards and 1 touchdown, with his longest run of the day being 53 yards. Jalen Ferguson got it done through the air, passing for 328 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. In the receiving game, Adonis Mitchell hauled in 3 passes for 98 yards, while D.R. Rogers had 3 catches for 70 yards and both of Ferguson's touchdowns. On the defensive side, Nick Cheeley led the way, leading the team with 6 tackles and hauling in 1 interception. After the game, I was able to catch up with defensive backs coach Guam Lee and get his thoughts on how the Bears were able to hold the Wolves to 3 points on the day.
I feel like overall we played really well. Had a couple mishaps in the run game in the first half, but as a total, we played a complete game for the first time this season, and that's why we held them to 3 points.
On Saturday, October 19th, the Bears traveled to Wilson, North Carolina to take on the Barton College Bulldogs, before returning home October 26th to welcome the Limestone Saints for the Bears' annual homecoming game. Well, that's all for me. If you want to support the Bears in person at home on their quest for a national championship, your next opportunity to do that is 1 o'clock Saturday, October 26th for their annual homecoming game against the Limestone Saints.
This community has been a collective passion of our law firm since 1997. We offer the quality legal services and results you would expect from a large downtown firm, but with a personal, community-focused approach right here at home. The McIntosh Law Firm, your local legal resource.
To learn more about the McIntosh Law Firm, visit McIntoshlawfirm.com.
Prioritizing your health is one of the best ways to take care of yourself. From routine visits to the joys of pregnancy to the illnesses that stop you in your tracks, Iredell Health System will be by your side. Learn more at iredellhealth.org.
Be a part of the conversation.
We can't fix America's debt by starving its people.
Have your say.
One shooting after another, and we're doing nothing to solve it?
This is WSIC News Talk Now.
I'm Bryce Johnson with this Unpacking It Sports and Faith Minute. It is refreshing to occasionally see elite athletes who are willing to come off the bench in order to help their team, even though they're good enough to be a starter. As followers of Jesus, what would it look like if we showed a willingness to be a backup and let others shine? It can truly be a challenge, but as followers of Jesus, we're called to be a servant and place the interests of others ahead of our own. The Bible says, do nothing from selfish or empty conceit, but with humility regard others as more important than yourselves. Do not merely look out for your own personal interests, but also for the interests of others. Sacrificing for others is an important part of following Jesus. So today, let's volunteer to go to the bench and allow others to take our spot in the starting lineup as we support them. I'm Bryce Johnson, and you can unpack that. For more, go to unpackingit.com.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Retailers did better than expected in September. The value of retail purchases increased 0.4%, much better than the 0.1% gain in August. Taking a look at jobs, there was an unexpected drop in people filing jobless claims last week, following gains the previous week due to Hurricane Helene. And property losses from Hurricane Helene caused Allstate to post $630 million in catastrophic losses in September. But they haven't hurt Travelers Insurance as much as expected. Shares of Travelers were up 9% after reporting quarterly net income exceeding expectations, with profits tripling to $1.3 billion from a year ago. The Dow posted another record today, up 161 points, or a 0.3%. The S&P down 1 point, just a fraction. The Nasdaq gained 7, up a fraction. And Netflix says it had another strong quarter thanks to a 14% gain year over year in paid subscribers. I'm Nancy Lyons, Bloomberg Radio.
Talk sports with Joe Berg. Call 844-STUDIO-4. It's the Scoreboard on 105.9, 100.7 WSIC.
And we're back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. 844-STUDIO-4 is the phone number here on the Scoreboard if you want to be a part of the program. I want to talk a little bit of NASCAR with you today. Bob Pockrass of Fox Sports is one of the most reliable sources when it comes to NASCAR news. And late last night, around 9 o'clock, he put out the following tweet. In its filing in response to 2311 FRM hopes for expedited discovery, NASCAR states, quote, NASCAR has taken steps consistent with its contractually obligations to the, let me restart that. Sorry about that. NASCAR has taken steps consistent with its contractual obligation to other charter teams to plan for a season with only 32 charters. NASCAR is working on reallocating funds that plaintiffs would have received to increase prize money and other special awards for the 2025 season for the benefit of teams that timely execute 2025 charters, as well as open teams who compete to win the increased prize money. NASCAR opened the filing with the following quote, plaintiffs have filed a meritless suit against NASCAR alleging baseless antitrust claims in order to obtain commercial agreements they previously rejected and to attempt to extort more favorable contract terms. Oh, NASCAR. If you don't understand what that means, basically, when we go into the 2025 season, if nothing changes, if there's no settlements with NASCAR, what'll happen is 2311 and Front Row Motorsports will not be chartered teams. They will be playing, or they will be racing as an open team, meaning they have to qualify into the race in order to participate. So if they wreck out in qualifying, guess what? That car will not be participating in the race of the weekend that they crash out in qualifying. They have to qualify in. I don't know why NASCAR thinks that they're going to win this. I really hope they don't because, well, it's pretty clear and obvious to anybody who's a fan of NASCAR that they have been holding things up over the past few years with charters and the decisions that they've made and things like that. Now, Pockrass did write an article about this, and in the article he included quotes from other drivers about what's going on with the lawsuit and things like that. Here's what Kyle Larson had to say. Quote, we're probably one of the only sports, if not the only sport, that athlete salary has gone down in the last couple of decades. Where you look at it clearly, most athlete salaries are going up, not just athletes, but coaches, staff members, everybody. Obviously, we would love to see it trend upward instead of the opposite, which it's been, but I think with that, the teams probably have to make a lot more money to make it viable to pay people that are working for the organizations. Another driver who said that nobody in NASCAR is making enough money. Oh my goodness. Who would have thought? It's almost like NASCAR really is holding on to the money for themselves and saying, yeah, this is all ours, and we'll give you a little bit, but not really. I don't think this ends well for NASCAR. I hope it doesn't end well for NASCAR because it is about time that we had some change in how things are run by NASCAR. They own all the tracks, almost all the tracks. A lot of money goes to the tracks. A lot of money also goes to NASCAR. So they're getting it at both ends. They're double dipping to get money here. They just signed a $1 billion TV right deal going through the next 7 years. And the teams want more of that money. I understand. And they should get it. Honestly, they should. Because if you're not taking care of your teams, well, you're going to continue to have a revolving door, like we've seen. Remember we talked about it. I think it was 19 teams got charters when the charter system first became introduced. And of those 19, Only 7 remain, something like that. I don't have it in front of me. I'm talking about something from a couple of weeks ago now. But it's been a terrible, terrible run for NASCAR. And they keep losing fans because of it. They're going to get their drivers, their teams are going to get angry because of this. I don't know if there's going to be enough time for this legal process to take place before the Daytona 500, which is coming up in February. We're only a few months away here from Daytona. Don't forget that. But also, we have a championship to decide in NASCAR. We are down to the round of 8 in the NASCAR Cup Series. Here's how the standings break down right now. You have Kyle Larson leading things. He is 33 points ahead of the cut line. You also have Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, and William Byron above the cut line. Bell is plus 13, Reddick is plus 10, and Byron only plus 4. Your defending champion, Ryan Blaney, is the first driver out of the playoffs right now. 4 points behind William Byron. Then it's Denny Hamlin, Chase Elliott, and the new addition, Joey Logano. Now, I saw something that said, had you taken overall points, not playoff points or anything like that, you would have the top 7 drivers in points plus number 16 in Joey Logano. And had Alex Bowman made it, the top 8 drivers in terms of a season-long points format would have made it into the round of 8, which is what you want. You don't want somebody who's 16th in points winning a championship. Or maybe NASCAR does want that because that's the format that we have and it lends itself to that kind of a champion. Look, remember, Kyle Busch won a championship and missed half the season. The Cup Series heads to Las Vegas this weekend for the second trip out west into the desert. Friday, you're going to have practice and qualifying for the Xfinity Series, and it's going to be later in the day here on the East Coast. 6:30 will be practice, and 7 o'clock will be qualifying. Those will be on USA Network. Saturday, you'll have practice and qualifying for the Cup Series at 4:30 Eastern and 5:20 Eastern, and then the Xfinity Series will hit the track for the Ambetter Health 302 at 7 o'clock. Sunday, the NASCAR Cup Series goes to the South Point 400 from Las Vegas. It will be a day race. We will drop the green flag around 2:30, and it'll be on NBC. Now, Las Vegas, if you remember earlier in the year, it produced a pretty decent race with Kyle Larson and Tyler Reddick dueling it out to the end. I do expect a good race from Vegas again. The mile and a half, the cookie cutter mile and a half, as they've been called, produce good racing with this next-gen car. Now, I call it manufactured good racing, but it is still good racing. The restarts are entertaining. The cars don't spread out all that much, and you have a good race. So I'll be looking forward to that on Sunday as we head to the South Point 400 from Las Vegas. We got one more segment here on the scoreboard, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. We're going to have a fun time on this final segment, get into some other things going on around the world of sports. Don't go anywhere. We're back after this.
This guy knows his sports, right? There's more of the Scoreboard with Joe Berg on the way on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Well, getting cold again tonight under a clear sky. Most of us around the lake drop into the upper 30s. A few spots in the outlying areas and farms could see the mid-30s and patchy frost again by early Friday morning. Sunshine is back. We get a little more pleasant heading into the weekend. Upper 60s for our Friday. Low 70s are back heading into the upcoming weekend. And that's your forecast from the WSIC Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Chase Myers.
Here's your WSIC community calendar. Lost Worlds Brewing Company in Cornelius presents their Sunday Fun Day on October 20th. Fleetwood Mac tribute band The Chain and Untethered Soul with frontman Nick Prestia take the stage for a day of live music. Lost Worlds Brewing is ready to welcome a big crowd to their back parking lot with a concert stage and sound system from Waves Entertainment. Lost Worlds off West Catawba Avenue in Cornelius presents Sunday Fun Day with an outdoor concert on October 20th. Monthly trivia with the WSIC gang is back at Micaiah's in Mooresville on October 22nd. Join us at Micaiah's off exit 33 from I-77 for Halloween-themed trivia on Tuesday night, October 22nd at 8 p.m. Trivia winners will receive a family 4-pack of tickets to the Renaissance Festival. Have some October spooky season fun with WSIC on-air hosts and try to win Renfest tickets with Halloween trivia Tuesday, October 22nd at Micaiah's in Mooresville. The Dirt Track at Charlotte Motor Speedway presents the World of Outlaws World Finals on the 6th of November through the 9th. Catch Dirt Racing's top 3 series in a title-deciding 4-day showcase of on-track action, featuring the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, the World of Outlaws Late Model Series, and the Super Dirt Car Big Block Modifieds. Single-day and 4-day ticket packages and camping information are all available at charlottemotorspeedway.com. Often imitated, never duplicated. The World of Outlaws World Finals invade the Charlotte Motor Speedway Dirt Track on the 6th of November through the 9th. To keep up with all the events happening around the community and much more, including amazing local deals, download the WSIC News app today.
The Renaissance Festival is back Saturdays and Sundays, now through November 24th. Jousting nights, mermaids, fairies, dragons, oh my! Tickets available online only at renfestinfo.com. Don't miss it!
Drum Landscape Supply is the go-to spot for anything you need for your yard. Transform your landscaping. Drum Landscape Supply has trees, flowers, natural stone, custom blended grass seed, mulch, and more. Plus, they deliver. DrumLandscapeSupply.com.
Your Tuesdays just got a lot better. The Good Soul, a feel-good show that dives into the stories of extraordinary people, is headed to WSIC. Host Patty Alvarez brings a sit-down, fun conversation to the airwaves to give you an early week pick-me-up. It's The Scoreboard with your host, Sports Director Joe Berg on 105.9 100.7 WSIC.
Welcome to the final segment on the Scoreboard today, ladies and gentlemen. Update for you on the New York Yankees and the Cleveland Guardians, Game 3 of the ALCS. The New York Yankees have jumped out to the early 1-0 lead. We talked about it yesterday with the Guardians and the position that they are in. They needed to go home and jump out on the Yankees and get an early lead. They were not able to accomplish that. Now, once again, the Guardians are behind the 8 ball, and they're going to have to play comeback baseball. Can they do it? I don't think so. Personally, I just don't think this Guardians team can match up with the Yankees. But we got a lot of baseball left. Just finishing in the second inning here, as we are currently at the end of the second. We'll be heading to the top of the third inning here shortly. Yesterday was game number 3 between the Dodgers and the Mets. And in that game 3, the Dodgers reigned supreme with the big win. Man, I'll tell you what, that was not a close game. That was not a close ball game. I wish it was, but it wasn't. It was not close. The final score yesterday, 8-0 Dodgers. They jump out to the 2-0 lead in the second inning. They tack 2 more on the 6th. And then in the 8th inning, Shohei Ohtani breaks things wide open with a 3-run home run to make it 7-0. And an insurance marker was added in the top of the 9th by the Dodgers. Luis Severino gets the loss in the game. Michael Kopech was pegged with the win in this one. Now, he's not a starter. He's a reliever. But the starter didn't go 5 innings, and, well, they had to pick someone to win it, right? I don't know if the Mets are going to really be able to come back and win this series, but I do expect them to put up a fight. Now, they play again tonight. The game between the Mets and the Dodgers is slated for 8:08, and like I said, it'll be on Fox Sports 1. Yoshinobu Yamamoto will be the pitcher for the LA Dodgers, while the Mets trot out Jose Quintana for another peg at the mound, and, you know, they got to get it going. Same key to the game, in my opinion. We see a lot of scoring in postseason baseball. Just look around the league at how these games have gone. The Mets have to score first. They have to score often. And they need to do what they did in Game 2 if they want any chance of coming back and winning this series. They put 6 runs up in the first 2 innings in Game 2. That was all the way back on Monday, if you can remember back that far. But the Yankees as well, they're the ones getting the early runs in this one. For the Mets, they got to do the same thing. They got to get the early runs if they have a chance at beating these Dodgers, because I'll tell you what, it seems like that team gets better and better the later the game goes. 6th, 7th, 8th inning, they just seem to kick it up to another notch. Now, the LA Dodgers lead that series 2-1. After tonight, we will have 2 more baseball games tomorrow. It'll be Game 5 of the NLCS. That is going to be the 5 o'clock game, where the ALCS moves to the 8 o'clock game, the late game in Cleveland. It seems like the Yankees and Guardians are going to stick at a 1-0 game for a little bit here as we are in the top of the second. Not that much going on right now, but hey, you never know what happens, right? Some other things in the news. We got to talk about a little bit of NFL football, because I'll tell you what, we are getting into week 7. I know, right? It doesn't feel real. Week 7 of the NFL season. There's only 18 weeks. 18 weeks, 17 games. Soon it'll be 20 weeks and 18 games. You'll have 2 bye weeks in there. Don't believe me? Well, we'll talk about it in a couple of years when it actually happens. Panthers will be taking on the Commanders. Talked about that a little bit. It's not going to be a good one for the Panthers, I don't think. The Commanders are a really good team this year. One game that I am going to have my eye on is this NFC North matchup between the Lions and the Vikings. The first big interdivision game for the NFC North. The Lions are 4-1. The Vikings are undefeated at 5-0. Now, when you look at the regular season standings in the NFL, there are only 2 teams remaining who have not lost a game. One of them you could have probably guessed. Yeah, it's the Kansas City Chiefs. They've won every game so far this year. The other one is definitely a surprise. The Minnesota Vikings are 5-0 with Sam Darnold as their quarterback. The 5-0 Vikings and the 4-1 Detroit Lions will square off against each other Sunday at 1 o'clock. Now, one team that intrigues me this year when it comes to just the standings in general are the Houston Texans. The Texans right now are 5-1. 5 wins, 1 loss on the year. They have scored 143 points on the year, which is up there. They're having a good year offensively. Defensively, well, they allow a lot as well, as they have allowed 135 points. That is only a net of 8 points. It is easily the lowest of any team who has a winning record, besides some of the teams that are at 500. And the Eagles. The Eagles are another team. They are -6 on the net points so far this year. The Vikings and the Lions are both on the top of that list, with the Vikings having a net point this year of 63 and the Lions at 60. That is going to be a really good football game. It is. And I'm excited for it. I don't know why they couldn't flex it to a 1 o'clock or to a 4 o'clock game. They did flex a game earlier in the week. I believe it was the the Chiefs and the Niners, but I may be wrong in that. I thought there was a game that was flexed this week. Now, you're also going to have 2 games on Monday night again. I know. And this time it's going to be different. The second Monday night game between the Chargers and the Cardinals will only be available on ESPN+. What is that, you ask? Streaming. You got to pay for it, kind of like Amazon Prime. I'm sorry. I'm just the messenger here, but I told you streaming is taking over. Ah, boy. What a shame. We're getting towards the end of the program here on this Thursday. We got to get into some things that happened on this day in sports history. And if you listen to WSIC a lot throughout the day, you may have heard this one earlier during the Scoreboard. During the Home Ad Show. You're listening to the Scoreboard. We talked about this on the Home Ad Show earlier today. Sorry for the confusion. On this day, October 17th, 1989, the World Series third game got canceled between San Francisco and Oakland as a 6.9 earthquake struck right as they were going on air. I've seen video footage of the broadcast and like, hey, welcome, we're here. Oh, man. And the broadcast is cutting out. Get all the fans on the field so they're out of the stands. That was on this day, 1989. Also on this day in history, we're going to go with something a little bit more recent. About 12 years ago. On this day in 2012, Lance Armstrong lost a host of endorsements in the wake of his doping scandal. If you remember that one, that was huge news, especially considering he was sponsored by the U.S. government. The mail, the U.S. mail, the post office. On this day, in 1979, the Pittsburgh Pirates beat the Baltimore Orioles 4-1 at Memorial Stadium for a 4-3 series win. Pirates first baseman Willie Stargell was the MVP of that World Series. There is a lot of World Series news in this day in sports history as we are at that time of the year. Last but not least, 1979, the Washington Capitals of the NHL get their first franchise home victory as they beat Chicago 4-3. The first home victory for the Washington Capitals on this day, 1979, as they beat the Blackhawks. Big thanks to everyone for tuning in this week. When we come back to talk to you next week, we are going to get you prepared for high school volleyball, as that'll be going on. The playoffs, we'll have seeding going on. Wrap up what happened over the weekend. NASCAR, NFL, MLB playoffs. It is a packed weekend. We didn't even really talk about what's going on Saturday. Charlotte FC with their final regular season game of the year. Man, it's going to be fun. We'll talk to you guys on Monday. We'll recap everything. Until then, you guys have a great night, great weekend. Be safe. I'll talk to you on Monday. Until then, see ya.
Serving you better than ever before.